Hello and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. It is Wednesday, the 19th of June, 2024, not 29, and I just realised that it actually says 16 days to the election. Let me just update that for you because it is actually 15 days to the election. Just 2 weeks and 1 day away from the day when we all get to vote and tell the Tories, as a nation, to go away. That's all I'm going to say. Just go away. Not the words that I really want to use. It's a bit early in the morning for expletives. Anyway, hello. Welcome to the show. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Now, if you are a new viewer on this show, welcome. This is a really lovely community that we're building here on Politics Social. Everyone's included, except for right-wing nuts. Don't want any of them. But everyone else, awesome. Come along. Come all. If you do want to enter the chat here, simply subscribe to the channel and wait 30 seconds, I think. And then you'll be able to add your comments. Big shout out to Stan in the chat and also City Life 2050. Good morning all, says Leapshin. We've got Simon in the chat, got Peter, we've got Bella, we've got One Angry Pagan, hello. We've got Regan Elite, who was on the show last night on Geoscope, please check it out. We've got Rob, we've got Shin, we've got Billy, we've got Pete's Music in there. Cathal is in there as well. Hi Cathal and Brian Ferguson. Sean is in there. And yeah. So, do you want to talk about inflation? No. Let's just talk first about this hilarious £144,000 that the Brain Trust, that is the Reform Company PLC Limited, decided to spend on a website called vetting.com that was set up by a massive Tory. The Tories don't like reform because they're running against them, you see. But anyway, so this guy who's a Tory who was made a CBE by Boris Johnson runs a company called vetting.com, which provides you with the tools that you require to vet your candidates. Except they didn't read the small print. I say they didn't read the small print. They didn't read the big print either, which basically said you have to do your own due diligence, but we will give you the tools that you need to do so. They just thought they could give £144,000 paid presumably in cash up front in a paper bag that was left behind the radiator in King's Cross Station gentleman's toilet. I don't know. But they paid it, and now they're talking about legal action because it turns out that their candidates have not been vetted. Hundreds of them have not been vetted at all. Not just vetted for if they've committed a crime or not, but they've not even been vetted for their social media. No one's just typed in the N-word into Twitter associated with the candidate's name to make sure that they haven't actually posted a tweet that uses the N-word or any other derogatory slur that they might want to use, because I know this is going to be a big shock to everyone watching, but it turns out that Reform UK, sorry, I keep calling it Reform, tends to attract the type of people who think it's acceptable to use racial slurs. They think it's acceptable to be misogynistic, sexist, derogatory to people who have disabilities, ableist, not to mention massively homophobic and also transphobic as well. Yeah, funny that. Why would you want to stand for Reform UK if you weren't a big gammony racist Brexiteer? No one standing for that party is going to do it out of a spirit of community and wanting everyone to have a better life. Something that, for the first time in British history, we have the quality of life of people has gone down in a parliament. Always goes up. It has gone down. That is absolutely remarkable that the Tories are that bad at running a country that they can turn something that should be a truism that things gradually get better over time, into something that has made so many people impoverished. 1 in 4 children now living in poverty in this country. In poverty. In a first world nation. In a developed, advanced economy. Children living in poverty. And not just 1 or 2% on the fringes. Maybe they have parents who don't have the ability to look after them, or something awful has happened in their lives and lots of things have snowballed, domino effect, whatever. No. We're talking about 25% of children living in poverty in this country under the Tories. There's a really good article today, and I'll link it into the chat, into the description below, in the Liverpool Echo, and it's about the effects of austerity on cities around the country, but specifically Liverpool. And where, like with other local authorities around the country, funding from central government has been cut by nearly 50% from what it was. That's why the short start schemes have gone. That's why the parks aren't being looked after. That's why there's potholes everywhere. That's why the youth centres have closed down. There's nowhere for young people to go now. They're either buried in their tablets or dealing drugs. It seems to be the only thing to do these days if you're a teenager. Which, I don't mind people playing video games and being on social media and stuff. It's kind of relatively harmless, I guess. But yeah, the fact that we've got an entire generation growing up now who are not being given even the most rudimentary access to green spaces and recreational areas that are actually well maintained. They've been denied that the last 14 years by this disgusting, tyrannical and sadistic Tory party. Now, here's the thing. Sunak, where is he? This is hilarious. So I'll show the papers in a moment because I just want to make a big point about how pathetic the newspapers are in this country. Beyond pathetic. But before I do that, just think, have you seen him? Have you seen him doing anything, being interviewed, going anywhere? What's he been doing? Where is he? And it turns out he was down in Devon, I think. Was he down in Devon, One Angry Pagan? Let me know in the chat. Was he near you? Collecting lobsters. Because that's something the common people eat. But we'll come to that in a moment. Right, I'm gonna go through our chat because we've got loads of people here. We've got Simon Chandler with the popcorn. The foghorn doesn't seem to like unfettered capitalism all of a sudden. Yeah, he seems to want things regulated. Hey, another bit of good news as well. Jeremy Vine, who seems to me like a particularly good egg, and he was really nice to a friend of mine who was getting a bit upset about the amount of trolling that they were getting, and he sent a message, and it was lovely. He seems like I probably don't agree with him about a lot of his politics or whatever, but he seemed like one of the decent ones. I mean, he's privately educated, of course. He's on the telly. But, he seems like a decent guy. Anyway, he's won £75,000 in damages against Joey Barton, the guy who spent 6 months in jail for getting into not just one fight, but numerous fights. He was in a fight in Liverpool where he hit someone, I think it was 20 times. 20 times. He was taken to court, or at least arrested, a few years ago for beating the living, for assaulting his wife, and it didn't end up going. It didn't end up going to court, I don't think, because the prosecution couldn't get his wife, ex-wife, I presume now, I don't know, to testify, and so they said we're not going to have the evidence to do this. The man is a monster, and yet the BBC found it okay to put him on Question Time. This was after he'd been to jail for 6 months for assaulting someone. So I think he was a footballer or something for Man City back in the day. He's a Scouser. He's from Huyton in Liverpool. Maybe I should say on the outskirts of Liverpool. But yeah, something else as well with this Jeremy Vine issue. So he called Jeremy Vine a nonce. He called him a bike nonce or something, and then posted pictures of Jimmy Savile and all this kind of stuff, trying to convey that Jeremy Vine was a paedophile. And obviously, the courts look down on that kind of thing as that other, that posh idiot, Loser Fox. At least Joey Barton can claim to be working class. But, Loser Fox called two drag artists paedophiles earlier. Last year he did that. And earlier this year he was found guilty of slander, defamation, libel, and forced to pay out a lot of money. It looks like the same thing's happened to Joey Barton. But this is only for the first 5 tweets that he sent. Apparently there's another 5 tweets, and they haven't been litigated yet. So, hopefully he'll be bankrupt soon. But then again, these horrible people, these disgusting UKIP stroke reform, Farage-loving people, they tend to have very deep pockets one way or another. David, thank you very much for the £10 super chat, mate. That's really kind of you. First super chat of the day. Wimbledon, Ipsos Mori, MRP, 33% Labour, 33% Lib Dem, 24% Tories. Stop the Tories vote tweeted last night that Labour is removing resources from the area. A provable lie. They are saying vote LD here. Why? I don't know. I don't control what the website Stop the Tories puts on the website as their recommendations. I'm guessing that they feel like in that particular constituency, if you're right and it is 33% Labour and 33% Lib Dem, the balance of probabilities is a coin flip. So it's best if people choose one or the other. As long as the Tory is defenestrated, let's put it that way. But yeah, I don't know. One Angry Pagan. I know he came to Brixton, which is the next town over from me, but he's not popular there. As you know, he lied to them about Brexit. Oh, he lied to everyone about Brexit. So is Graham, Johnny. What did I do? Good morning, all. I'm a bit late. I'm not late. I was bang on time this morning. And I'm never late. Regan says support Politics Social. Thank you very much, Regan. Cathal says there was one match. He could have got 3 red cards. He did get 1. He's just a vile thug. He is an absolute thug. Anyway. Freckle Peony says, not sure about Jeremy Vine being a good egg, so it's too much pandering to the far right nutters on his Channel 5 show. Maybe so, but he does often have Femi on there and Marina Perkis and Gemma Forte, who are not are not that ilk. And like I say, I don't know about his personal politics, but he seems to have his heart in the right place in some ways, more than other presenters of TV shows. Let's just put it that way. Stan, life is for sale. That is mankind's biggest mistake. Thank you very much for that, Stan. Yeah, possibly. More Lib Dems means them as opposition later have enough seats. I would like to see more Lib Dems get in just so that they are the opposition rather than the Tories. And to do that, they need to win at least 70 seats. And on the latest MRP polling, they're only on about 33. So, yeah, there you go. If Graham was not late, I would have missed the start. So I wasn't late. What are you talking? Maybe, do you know what it is as well? There's a bloody delay. There is a delay on these so that the subtitles can get written out. Anyway, because I don't think they work like live. You've got to have a little bit of latency, as they say. But anyway, right, I'm going to go to the papers before I get into an argument. Oh, I hate it when it doesn't work. Why did that not work? Why did you not work? I just had to click my fingers and it made it appear, and it didn't. God damn it. Right, this is brilliant. Like, look, the Mail and the Express today, I've just got the funniest headlines ever. It's like, it just reeks of desperation. Do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of like the desperation of someone going into an exam that they just haven't revised one little bit for. Like Rimmer in the first episode of Red Dwarf, when he tries to write all the answers on his hand and then he's so sweaty, all the pen just smudges into like just one big, ink blob. He just smashes it down on the paper. The desperation, that's what it is at the moment. David, why tweet the lie? Stella Creasy was here Sunday. That's from David. I don't know. I don't know. Look, I don't control Stop the Tories Don't Vote. They just said, will you back us if we're trying to get rid of the Tories? And I said, yes, I will back you if you're getting rid of the Tories. But I'm not backing them financially, and they're not backing me financially. So, we do what we can. But thanks for the super chat anyway, David. Right, so PM, Labour will tax your years of savings in weeks. So this is Labour are going to be a big boogeyman who are going to come and they're going to take all your money, your hard-earned money, your savings that you've saved all your life. The Labour people are going to come and take it in the night, like a thief in the night. They're going to come and take all your money. And it's interesting that they got the savings here because the only people with savings now are the older generation who've paid off their mortgages for their homes. The rest of us who either pay rent or have mortgages have seen our mortgages or mortgage repayments or our rent go through the roof thanks to the Tories. So we have no savings. But, even if it was true, it would still be only affecting people who are likely to vote Tory because they're a bit older, maybe. But I don't think it's going to work. I really just don't think it's going to work. I just don't think it's going to work. It might work on like 3 people who really, really hate their grandchildren. I don't know. And then you're going to need a bigger vote. This is brilliant from the Mirror. I always love a pun. You've got Tories adrift from reality and PM at sea, but also the Jaws reference there. You're going to need a bigger vote with Rishi Sunak out there on a boat, standing there like a lemon. I like the way he's sort of standing there like he's on the tiller. He's like he's actually he's steering the boat. No, he's not steering the boat. He's not. It doesn't work like that. It's that boat's got a steering wheel. I don't think they call it that though. It's like on a boat things are called different things. It's not a steering wheel, Graham. It's a wheel. It's not a toilet. It's a head. It's not a rope. It's a sheet. God damn it! What do you call the sheets? We call them ropes. Anyway, but getting back onto this. Rise of the Bog Snackers. I mean, God, the start is just. Do you remember the Sunday Sport when we were growing up? Like, do you remember the Sunday Sport? You said like bus found on the moon, double-decker bus found on the moon. Yeah. Starmer tax threat to savers with a checkbook. This is in the Murdoch Festival. Desperation, the desperation. Arnold Rimmer at the bloody exam that he doesn't know any of the answers for. He hasn't revised. Desperation sets in. So savers with a checkbook are going to get taxed. Britain 20 years behind Europe on cancer care. That is horrific. And that is a result of the Tories. Don't forget in 2010, we had the best, not one of the best, but the best healthcare systems in the world. Labour went, ta-da, look what we've done over the last 13 years. We've made the UK have the best medical services in the world, the best national health service, the best, public services for health outcomes for everyone. You might be able to say, oh, well, you get better provision in America when you go in private. Yes, you probably do, but most people don't have that. And the people who do have it, it costs a lot of money. The Guardian here, NHS will buy beds in care homes to cut hospital waits, says Labour. So this is a Labour scheme to try and do something with the ailing NHS, which has been under constant bombardment by the Tories who just want to privatise it. I mean, Nigel Farage is even making a secret of it anymore. He's just like, want to privatise it. It's going to be like the French system. No, it's not. It's going to be like the American system where people are going to get run over by a car and go, please don't call me an ambulance, because my name's Jeff. But also, don't call an ambulance because I'll have to go in a taxi because I don't have the £1,500 I'll have to pay for a ambulance to take me to the hospital. Which is something that happens in Australia. I know, because I used to live in Australia. And people said, I haven't got ambulance insurance. Please don't call me an ambulance. And you had people who were pregnant with a baby half out of them having to take a taxi to get to the hospital because they couldn't afford to take a ambulance because it would have cost them over 1,500 Australian dollars. Nice. David Welsh, thank you very much for the €5 super chat. Always love getting euros here. The Star gave us the letters, quite arguably the finest political satire in British history, a work of genius. Respect. Okay, all right, I'll give them a bit of respect for that. That was quite funny. But the headlines are just usually demented. I like it when they have a pop at Tories, though. The Eye here with UK in secret talks over financial turmoil, IT giant that could hit benefits and NHS. So this is about the Atos company, which looks like it's going to go into bankruptcy and it's got a lot of our data. it runs a lot of our services, and that could result in disaster. So yeah, they're in emergency talks about that. And then I mentioned the mail earlier, but first I'll say a big thank you to Darren Christian there for the super chat, £2. Did you get name checked on James O'Brien's show yesterday? Well, thank you for asking, Darren. Yes, I did. Yeah, there was a lady who rang up, Elizabeth from East Grinstead, and she was saying she felt politically homeless. And she said, but, you know, we've got James O'Brien and then Nick. She didn't say Nick who, and there was a bit of discussion over whether she meant Nick Ferrari. Obviously, she didn't. She meant Nick Abbott. And then she mentioned Steve Bray, and then she mentioned me. And she was going to go on to say that I don't get the recognition that I deserve, or something like that. And James O'Brien, like, completely cut her off mid-sentence and started talking about Nick Abbott. And I was just like, don't mention the Graham. But yeah, it was very nice. So if you're watching this, Elizabeth in East Grinstead, or you know her, thank you, or pass on my thanks for my name check on the radio yesterday. Always nice for that to happen. Labour's secret tax rise dossier. This is the front cover of the Mail. I mean, this is the. I mean, do you want the most perfect image of the Mail and everything it stands for here? You've got, right, let's go through it from top to bottom. You've got the Gutenberg Bible font there, which is beloved of Nazis. If you ever see any Nazi propaganda, they always use that same font. The people who get tattoos also like the Gutenberg Bible font. Don't know why. It must be because it's easy to do as a tattoo. Doesn't look too bad. And it beats Comic Sans, I guess. But there you go. Let's move down. Jan Moore on Lineker's hideous T-shirt. What? What? Is this the real life? Or is this just fantasy? Like, what? This is a columnist who is commenting on the T-shirt worn by a sports presenter. On the... Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm finished. And shameless TV plug. Yeah, God, the Mail. They're never shameless, are they? That's the last thing they ever are. Am I going mad? Like, what? Is this a parody? Is it it's got to be a parody. I'm not even a couple of inches down from the top of the page here. But first of all, we're going to say a big thank you to Bad Bones 777. Thank you very much to Bad Bones. People in the US have to work second jobs to get the meds I get for free. It's a chronic condition and not covered by insurance. $1,800 per syringe for a weekly shot. Yeah, don't be chronically ill. Do not be chronically ill. Yeah, it's the future that the Tories want. Like I mentioned last week, I think one of my friends who suffers from cystic fibrosis can't get her medication, and so last week I drove. Must have been an hour's drive. It was 25 minutes there, 25 minutes back, and then I had to faff around in the boots. I had to go and pick up medication, which has now been sent down to Derby because she can't get it in her local area, and she has cystic fibrosis. Like, without this medication, it's not that she's going to, be in a little bit of discomfort. Without this medication, she's not going to be with us anymore. And the Tories have done everything in their power to make it so that our medicine is being disrupted into this country. And they knew this would happen. SmithKline Beecham told them that this was going to happen. The AstraZeneca told them this was going to happen. I happen to know someone who worked for one of these big pharmaceutical companies who sat down with the Tory Brexiters and told them exactly what would happen in our pharmaceutical industry if we went for this hard Brexit. And they just didn't care. They didn't care about my mate who can't get her medication now. They didn't care about your mum who's suffering from chronic pain, chronic, debility. I can't even say the word. Chronic pain. They don't care about one of my mum's best mates who's having to wait 2 years for a knee operation. Can't go upstairs. If she's walking around, she's in constant agony and having to wait. The Tories don't care about that. Anyway, right, I'll be back onto the Daily Mail in a moment. But first, David Faulkner has dropped 38 Hong Kong dollars, all the way from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, David. If the wealthy are worried about tax, they should get a second job. The shirkers pull themselves up by the bootstrap and do a better job of budgeting. Yeah, that's what we've been saying about people moaning about the VAT on school fees. It's like, well, first of all, the schools don't have to pass them on to the parents, by the way. But if they do, yeah, get a second job, get a better paid job, stop eating all that avocado toast, maybe cancel your Netflix subscription. That's what they say. That's what they say to us. Half an hour of chat extra today, says Bart Roberts. Lady Gribber, what wasn't she on the Outlaws? Comic Sans and Ariel are great for reading, particularly for autistic people. Yeah, I know, but when I've spoken about this before, but after spending a week in jail in Cape Verde, my exit papers from the court, my court papers were in Comic Sans, and it felt like they were taking the piss a little bit, you know. It's not a font for like legal documents. Yeah, and I get it that it's easy to read for people who have, for kids actually, but in general, but also for people who have difficulty with reading, with dyslexia and things like that. So yeah, I do get that as a functional font. It does have its function, but yeah, legal papers should not be one of them. Anyway, the much maligned Comic Sans. Anyway, so we're still on the mail here. We will get through it by the end of the hour. Revealed the official manifesto submission from group of MPs, which includes Starmer, proposing six raids, count, from targeting family homes to inheritance and wealth taxes. They're coming for your inheritance. So your little Nepo babies are going to have to pay some tax. Above the £1 million, you're allowed tax-free. You're like, oh, God, how am I going to live on £1 million tax-free? Oh, God, poverty, oh. My heart bleeds for these people who have got capital gains tax to pay, but they don't want to pay it because, they worked hard. They worked hard for that money that they put into stocks and shares, which made them more money. They had to check it now and again on their phone. Like when you check your bank balance because you don't know if you got enough money in your bank balance and you think you might go overdrawn and you don't want to go overdrawn because you get a £50 fine from the bank. They don't have to. They don't know what that is. They don't understand that concept. But they check on their stocks and shares now and again. And should they really pay capital gains tax on that? Should they really? Yes, they should. On homes, yeah. The home you live in, that's pretty solid. Like, seriously, both parents, you're allowed $500,000 each from each parent if it's a family home, right? If it's your primary residence. So you can get a house worth £1 million tax-free. That's it, when your parents cark it. Sorry, I mean pass away. It's not enough. No, we need more. And then you got the landlords with 17 houses. This is great. So what they do is, because they've got money, they buy a house and then they put someone in the house to look after the house for them, like a caretaker. But that caretaker has to pay 33% of their income in a job that they work every day. They get up at, in the morning, 7 o'clock, get into work. They work all day, usually quite, tiring actual physical work. And get home, and they give a third of what they earn to an already rich person for the privilege of caretaking that rich person's home. And then when that rich person decides to flip the house because it's suddenly, oh, wow, I love the way house prices go up when we don't build houses, when there is induced shortage by the government of houses. And then suddenly, because of this induced scarcity, we suddenly have house prices just going up and up and up. So a house that you bought 10 years ago for £250,000, oh my God, it's now worth £450. Oh, flip that, motherfucker. And then they do that, they send it off, and they sell it, and they're like, oh, I don't want to pay any tax on that because I worked for that money that other person who lived in the house worked for. And I worked for the fact that the price went up because young people don't have any houses to live in because the Tories haven't built enough houses. But it's all the fault of immigrants, by the way. Immigrants and VAT on private schools. Ovs. Cathal, thank you very much for the €2 super chat. I meant to mention yous to So James O'Brien, but got starstruck. Oh, thanks, Cathal. I didn't know you spoke to James O'Brien. I'll have to. When was that? Let me know when it was, and I'll look it up if it's in the last week, and I can get it on catch up. But that's really cool. Comic Sans is great for people with dyslexia, pretty sure. Do you know what's not great for people with dyslexia? The word dyslexia. It's so hard to spell. I can't spell it, and I don't think I'm dyslexic. Mike says, I'm not guessing about the private patients getting Trulicity and acquaintance. It gets private. She has no problem filling out her private prescription. Johan, I think those tax whingers should pay Belgium's level of tax for a year. We'll see how opposed they are to UK levels then. Yeah, or maybe Denmark's level. Medical need should always be prioritised, but in 2024, Britain's private trumps NHS. If people die, tough. BTL landlords who invest in housing don't understand the concept of capital risk. Housing is basically risk-free. Yeah, but they worked hard for that money. You hear this a lot for people who send their kids to private school. We worked hard to send our kids to private school. We made sacrifices. Like other families don't work hard. Like other families don't make sacrifices. Like other families don't, have aspirations for their children. Only the rich ones. Only the rich. Oh God. I mean, if there was a concerted effort to make us really, really hate rich people, they couldn't do a better job. Seriously, if they were getting paid to make people hate rich people, they couldn't do a better job right now. Because all I hear in the media, people calling up on radio shows, people on Question Time, is these rich people whinging about having to pay their fair share of tax. And I'm sick and tired of it. And it's an idea that, we're the most put upon in our society. No, you're not. No, you're not. 1 in 5 pensioners are living in poverty. 1 in 4 children are in poverty in this country right now. Meanwhile, 1 in 5 pensioners are millionaires. I mean, the separation between haves and have-nots is just growing and growing every freaking day. But hopefully, in 2 weeks and 2 days, we will wake up on Friday morning. Well, I'm not going to wake up because I'm going to be up all night. I plan. I'm planning to be up all night with my big chart. We're gonna wake up and there'll be no longer will the Tories will be in charge of this country. In fact, with any luck, no longer will the Tories actually ever be in charge of this country ever again. Anyway, still on the Daily Mail, we are getting there. Labour's secret tax rise dossier. So they have a dossier and they've got a cartoon. If you can notice this, they've literally got a cartoon here. Sorry, I'm trying to point it at the mouse, but I realised the mouse doesn't appear on there. But there's a little cartoon because there's so little to put in the information. It says, Labour was under pressure to come clean last night after a bombshell dossier laid out plans with dramatic tax rise plans. The Mail can reveal that propose, and then it's a dash, and then you got that cartoon there. Put forward by a group of party MPs whose members include Sir Keir Starmer, suggest 6 raids to raise, I think it's either 60 billion or 80 billion. My resolution's not that great. These include hiking inheritance. There's nothing there. Yeah, good. Hike inheritance. You haven't worked for it. You haven't worked for that money. So it's free money that you're getting. If you win a competition in this country, you don't have to pay tax, but in America, you do. Yeah, you do. So if you win the lottery in America, right? If you're in the state lottery, you have to pay a huge chunk of that in tax. If you win a cash prize or whatever, you have to pay a big chunk of it in tax. One of the things that people mentioned about, do you remember a few years ago, over a decade ago now, when Oprah Winfrey, I'm in trouble with that name for some reason, gave out all the cars. And she was like, you get a car. Everyone gets a car. And everyone's dead excited. Loads of the people in that audience actually ended up having to sell those cars straight away because they had to pay tax on their car. And they couldn't afford it. So they had to sell the car, pay the tax, and then get a smaller car. Or, I don't know, go on holiday or something. I mean, they still got something for free, but they had to pay tax on it. In this country, you can win the lottery. You can win the Euro Millions. You can win like £50 million on the Euro Millions. And do you know how much tax you pay on that? For that money that you've been given and you didn't work a single day of your life for? 0. And do you know what? Okay, fair enough. If you're lucky enough to win something like that, it's a one-off, I guess, in your life. It's not going to happen again. But yeah, I do find that very interesting. But if you bet on the horses, you have to pay tax. It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, competitions. Fairy Godmother, thank you very much. Goth Mother, I would like that. Fairy Goth Mother, £2 super chat. Thank you very much for that. I do like myself some goths. I really wish private schools were illegal, says LU2D Games. Couldn't agree more. In Finland, they changed the constitution to make them like always illegal. So the next parliament, the next government can just legalize them again. It changed the constitution. Brilliant. Anyway, we're still not finished on this Mail story, right? So this is absolute bullshit from the Mail about these tax rises. This is stuff that was already baked in to what Labour's going to do anyway. They're not going to raise any taxes. They're just going to make sure that the taxes that exist are actually collected properly and close the loopholes, which is what the Daily Mail and the billionaire owners of the Daily Mail are freaking out about. But then you got this next story here. I'm not even through it. Brave smile from Lady Gabriella as she returns to Ascot. Yeah, so this is the woman whose husband checked out earlier this year. And, you know, okay, that's nice that she's getting out again. But Ascot, you know, again, this isn't a newspaper for, like, normal people. We can't really relate to Ascot. You know, go from the horses. We're living in a cost of living crisis, where standards of living are going down by the day, where the NHS is crumbling, where our roads and our schools are crumbling under 14 years of Tory neglect, incompetence and sadism. And they're going, oh, she looks fine at Ascot. This is during a big football tournament, which actually most working people are interested in. But no, you know, the Daily Mail, it lives in its own little bubble of weirdness. Anyway, finally, I'll carry on. Post office in criminal conspiracy. This is the accountant. I think he's the guy who's played by Ian Hart in Mr. Brooks versus the Post Office. I think it was. Ian Hart was the guy who played Quirrell in the first Harry Potter movie as well. Tory hopefuls jockey for position as post-poll race to succeed Sunak looms. Yeah, how long? This is a point that should be made to the people of Richmond and Northallerton. Like, is he gonna hang around as a MP for them? Is he? Hell, he is. He is gonna be out. He is gonna be like, you won't see him for dust. As soon as this election's over, he is off to California. California dreaming. Anyway, so I'm just going to read a few of your comments before I say goodbye, because obviously I've overran again, because I just like talking. I just like talking. Bella says, lol, almost my favourite spelling, but I prefer fairy, but fairy is good enough. That's for the fairy godmother. Goth mother, sorry. One I can. Some countries are already too late to save from climate change. We need to prepare for the migrants, refugees to these places, as well as helping our own by building our housing and infrastructure. Absolutely. The Tories bemoan the economically inactive, costing the economy while destroying the best healthcare system in the world that was very effective at getting people back to work. Yeah. Ordering people who are living with terminal cancer to get back to work is not the way to get people back to work. Making sure that hardly anyone has terminal cancer, because you're giving people options in life so they don't have to eat the most unhealthy food. They don't have to live a life where they can't get any exercise because it's too expensive to join a gym. It's like 50 quid a month to join the gym. Who has that kind of money? £50 a month to join to gym. We have council run gyms here in Durham, which are about £26 per month. But still, that's a lot of money for a lot of people, including myself. And the fact that we don't have gyms that anyone, especially people on low incomes, can sign up to for free and go and use the facilities, and they're provided by the local council, which is funded. You know, at least half of the money is coming from central government, but that is being paid for by rich people who, up to this point, are doing everything in their power to evade tax. They just want to not pay any tax at all. That would be their dream. And there's a great Stuart Lee sketch. I love Stuart Lee. Oh, he is privately educated, of course. He's allowed to be on television. Yeah, and he's talking about the fact he made a bit of money as a stand-up comedian. He's like, oh, well, keep that now. Yeah, that's mine. I just want to keep that now. Everyone else can piss off. And you see these anarcho-capitalists, libertarians, whatever you want to call them, who go, oh, I don't need the NHS, I don't need the police, I don't need an army. And yeah, they probably don't. They're rich enough, they can build their own hospital, they can build their own schools, they can employ their own security, their bodyguards. Can you? Because I can't. So I need society. I rely on society. I rely on everyone helping each other out. But these rich anarchists are like, well, I don't need it. I want to opt out of all this. And you always think of like people like, I don't know, the Koch brothers brother now, or the Barclay brothers brother now, in the US and the UK respectively, who are very much like, I don't want to pay anything towards these people because I've got so much money, it's insane, and I don't want to pay tax. That's mine. That's all mine. And at the same time, you're thinking, but you are absolutely relying on people having money to buy your shit. If people didn't have the £1.25 or whatever it is for the mirror each day, for the mail, sorry, each day, then how would they sell any of their lies? The people need money. This is why austerity is just so cock-headed. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing you could possibly do in a crisis, is to take money off ordinary people. So they've got no disposable income. They've only got income that has to go on energy, on food, on your house or whatever. It has to. You get no option in that whatsoever. And then you're not spending money on cosmetics. You're not spending money on going to the football or going to gigs or going to on beer, going to the pub. The loads of things that you don't actually need in your life are non-essentials. And when horrible, grisly little toe rags like Neanderthal say, you can live off 30 pence a day. No, you can survive off 30 pence a day if you're Ray Mears or Bear Grylls trying to survive in a forest. And don't forget, Ray Mears and Bear Grylls both went to private school. So pretty much they can probably call their dads if it ever gets too bad. Dad, I've come survival wildernessing by mistake. Yeah, I don't know if wildernessing is an actual thing, but I like to think that it is. The point is, that's not living. That is surviving. And then only just. And they have set things up for us to fail in so many ways. And it's not just the obvious stuff, the in-your-face stuff about people having to choose between heating and eating, but also when we look at health outcomes, when we look at how many people under the age of 50 are now developing cancer in this country. Why? Why is that? Well, there's a good chance it's going to be linked to diet and our ultra-processed food and the fact that people aren't doing as much exercise as they used to or they should be. There's a lot of factors that have come into this, lifestyle factors, and the government is just grinding people down. So they turn to the bottle because just to numb the pain of everyday life. They turn to drugs to numb the pain of everyday life, the everyday life that the Tories have created for us. And they just don't care. That is the most gruesome thing about them. The indifference to the suffering, not just of people in other countries fleeing war. Obviously, we know that they hate them, but us. The suffering of the people who live in this country, who are not doing well right now. And all they can do is Twitter on about how this is going to affect the millionaires. Won't somebody think of the millionaires and their inheritance tax and their capital gains tax and their VAT on school fees? Oh! You know what I say? Fuck the millionaires. They've been in charge for the last 14 years and they have absolutely ruined the place. It's time for a change. Right, I'm off. Thank you very much to Levy Landlord Bardwell. Cheers for the £10 super chat there. She probably paid £1,000 plus for her new hat for Ascot. Yeah, possibly, probably. A tin of cannelli beans from Aldi was 49p, I think. Maureen says, I subscribed 20 gym sessions at my local council gym to get back into fitness after I had a brain hemorrhage in 2009. Thank you, Labour. Yeah, I mean, Labour did look after people. in a way that the Tories just absolutely do not. Did Labour do everything right? Of course not. But let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. This is an opportunity for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Tories to be absolutely destroyed for what they've done. Yeah, the only thing I'm worrying about now is Farage winning in his constituency, because I don't want to have to see his disgusting bollock face ever again. And I certainly don't want to see it on the TV or on the news websites every day for the next 5 years. It's gonna smart. Right, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we might be able to do an episode of The Intersection later today. Look out for that. I don't think there's a debate today. I've been trying to find out. It's really hard to get the schedules, like when things are on. You've got to check each one individually. Definitely do Quagglebox tomorrow. I don't know if Phil will be able to do the show tomorrow. He has been putting out videos. Please support Phil on A Different Bias. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to his channel. He's still putting out videos, but he's not appearing in the videos because he's really not well at the moment. So I doubt he'll be doing the show tomorrow. But if he is, fantastic. But if not, I will be standing in. I'll be filling in for Phil. And yeah, smash the like button, says Captain Bart Roberts. And I totally got peed off for the thought of subsidising private education. It's beyond immoral. Yeah. Well, here's a little fact. Here's a little fact before you go. So, out of the charitable offset that these institutions, private schools, have, right? So they are supposed to, let's say they're supposed to pay like whatever tax it is on their income, but they don't because they're charities. So let's say for a particular school, it's £50 million, right, that they should actually pay. So they then have to spend that £50 million on charitable things, right? So you would think that most of that will go on bursaries for working class kids to be able to go to these institutions. Not so, not so. Only 1% of that 50 million, only 1% of it will go towards funding the bursaries for children going into the school from working class backgrounds. A huge chunk of it goes to middle class parents to help them pay the school fees. So you're earning only, £40,000 a year, which is quite, it's a very, very good income. And you want to send your kid off to school, you've got aspirations. And then the government effectively is stepping in and saying, yeah, okay, well, you can use some of this charitable money to help that middle class kid to go to this posh school, which would then absolutely guarantee they get a job in the media or design or art or, whatever they can be a rock star like the guy from Coldplay or Ed Sheeran or the knobheads from Mumford and Sons. Yeah, that's fine. All right. And then about 50% of that charitable money goes on stuff like sporting equipment for the schools, sporting equipment and musical instruments for these schools. A lot of the kids who attend these schools are the children of millionaires. Some of them are children of billionaires, and they get effectively subsidized musical instruments and sporting facilities off you, the taxpayer. No, it's all right. You don't have to buy your own trumpet. We've got one for you. Thanks, taxpayers. It's a charity. They can say this is what we're spending our charitable money on. And they do. There's a really cool speech that was done by Lord Adonis, who I think is on my private school mafia. Andrew Adonis, he's on my private school mafia list, but he's very much against private schools. And he made this point about it was only 1 in 100 children getting a full bursary in these schools. It's the absolute minimum that these schools can get away with. In the same way that cinemas only show 1% of films with subtitles. It's the absolute bare minimum they can get away with while still, qualifying for Disabilities Act, qualifying for the Equalities Act. And we need to tighten up the system. We need to tighten up the system because it is broken and it needs fixing. And Don Duda is pointing out, just saying that needs fixing. How are Tufton Street classed as charities? Yeah, the IEA, Civitas, all those, Taxpayers Alliance, the LGB Alliance. Charities, apparently. Educational charities. So they don't pay any tax. How nice. Anyway, no time for complacency, but here's to sending Tories back to the 18th century where they belong. Thank you very much, Derek. And on that note, I will say ta-ra, because, God, It's supposed to be a half-hour show, and we're just coming up to 50 minutes. There you go, bumper show for you. Thank you very much for the super chats. Thanks for the chat, all the socialites in the chat. We've now got a badger for the channel. It's our little mascot there for the channel. And yes, so thanks for that. And until next time, I'll say give us a like on the way out. And thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.